Hi everyone, it's Christy Funk from ChristyFunk.com, and I had to find a new place because the house is just filled with family right now. My brother and my niece are here from Ecuador. I shot a video earlier on today and I actually posted it on Facebook and then deleted it. Um, it wasn't clear enough, and so I've been processing this revelation that I had. I asked for a lot of clarity last night in my journal and understanding that this moon is about really discovering truth and just digging a little deeper into some of the things that I've been working on, because as evolving human beings and as somebody that's really committed to being my best version of myself, my highest version, it's a constant process. And to me, it's like a puzzle and it's a game. It's exciting and it's also really sad, and it gets us into some really icky places, but those are all part of the growth. So last night I wrote in my journal that I'm asking for clarity and just on a few different things in my life. And this morning I was just flooded with emotion. So I posted a video of this guy that was doing some type of like talent show, and he stuttered and he was doing this comedy routine, and you can see it on my Facebook page. And it really just triggered like this avalanche of emotion in me. And I started just sitting there in the shower, just like weeping and just releasing and wondering what was it about this that really touched me. Well, he definitely took something, that a tragedy that happened. He was hit in the neck with a baseball and lost his vocal cords, and it caused him to stutter. But he took this challenge and made it something, really tapping into his inner light. And of course, I love anything like that. So anything where somebody's going through a challenge and just comes out shining. So that, but then there was other things. I started to look at my past and how I have allowed myself to be mistreated and how I have allowed myself to be abused. Of course, nobody asks for sexual abuse and nobody asks for even emotional abuse, but later on in life, because of what happened when I was small, I was allowing it because I didn't have the tools on how to say no, and I didn't have the tools of how to set my boundaries. And there's something that happens when we are sexually molested, when we are abused. We, especially as children, our programming is rewired. And I've talked about this with many friends and even my clients about how we don't have the filters and we don't have the know-how to understand when we are in an abusive relationship or in an abusive situation or something that isn't loving to us, because we are programmed to almost embrace that chaos. Because from the point that I was molested as a small child, it triggered something in me to be accepting of that, because the chaos and the fight or flight mode is instilled in me. So when I attracted those relationships, I also felt comfortable and at home in them. And one of my dear friends who does a lot of inner bonding work had said that you lean in to your predator, you lean into the abuser, because that is where we feel that's our comfort zone. So anyways, so getting back to this guy that I saw on Facebook, this guy that had this stuttering problem, I realized that I've always had such a tender spot for those with disabilities or made people that are not necessarily accepted by society. Um, I used to have a transgender woman come into my Belly Sprout store to get makeup done by me, and I would share space with her and just make her feel really comfortable in the awkwardness of her having to ask me for help. In high school, I always befriended all of the foreign exchange students because everybody else thought they were weird because of their language or accent or their culture. And so I would almost kind of like mother certain demographics, certain people that were not completely accepted. Like I wanted to coddle them and make them feel safe, because my own pain didn't, I wasn't taking care of myself, so I was taking care of others. So I as I was processing why this triggered me, I was also just flooded with a ton of emotion on um, just feeling so much sadness at there was a mix of emotions, right? Because I'm feeling all of this sadness, I'm allowing myself to be in it, I'm feeling grief, I'm feeling actually excited because I've realized this to a next level that I have allowed myself to be in abusive relationships. I have allowed men to mistreat me and disrespect me and objectify me. I have allowed men to speak very rudely to me. I have allowed men to call me a bitch. I have allowed them to tear apart my body. Not just physically, but like to judge my body. I had a boyfriend in high school who had raped me, that I allowed him to try and give me this pen set if I would lose 10 pounds. I have allowed a man, when I was getting out of the shower, to come and put his hands on my curvaceous hips and say, "You would be perfect if it was just that much smaller." I have allowed men to call me a bitch. And, I just was like, I allowed to myself to be emotionally abused. I allowed to be in a very unhealthy, toxic relationship in my marriage and keep quiet. I allowed um, someone who I thought was my soulmate and my life partner to completely be abusive to me, to yell at me, to make me feel small, to make me feel scared, to objectify me, to disrespect me, to send me very unhealthy texts and messages and images. I didn't use my voice. And even though I feel very strong and powerful, I still wasn't owning that. And so and also with women, I have been mistreated. I've allowed myself to be mistreated by women. Somebody that was a close friend of mine who would belittle me and berate me in front of other people. Everything from what I was wearing, to how I was eating, to how I was not being independent, to yelling and screaming at me in a hotel room because I didn't know how to contact the concierge, and she just went completely ballistic on me. And I never said anything. I turned my face and I just wept, but she never saw it. And so, as I was reflecting on all of this, I realized how important it is to share this with you, because if you've been in an abusive past, how we can take on so much abuse, and even subtle things, little things that for other people would be big, are really little to us. And so we keep quiet. We don't confront. We don't stand up. We don't own our power. And something happened this weekend where something less than loving was said to me, and I retracted. And that's what happens is we retract as that little girl in the corner. And what I'm realizing is how much more I need to stand into my power. So what was really I'm going through all of this, and I know that there's a message for everybody. There's a message that if you know somebody that has been abused, be extra gentle with them. This is not about enabling them. It's just about having that voice, that tender spot that maybe we haven't had as a little girl that has been wounded somehow. If you are an abuser, hopefully you find some empathy inside of yourself to just, and I don't mean like the extreme case. If you're mentally handicapped, like if you've got mental illness problems, that's a whole different thing. I'm talking about if you're just like being volatile, and be kind with your words. Be kind. If it doesn't feel good to you, it's not going to feel good to somebody else. And for those that have been through this road of abuse, just really learn to step up and stand in your power. So then this is how the universe, this is how God and the whole world works, is when I put it out there, I get messages. So then Danielle LaPorte had this phenomenal post on her blog about the inner child. And I will do a whole different video on that. But that inner child is exactly our compass to find out how we are protecting ourselves. So when somebody is being abusive to us, when we are experiencing either physical, emotional, spiritual abuse, whether it's on a big, um, whether it's magnified or something really small and isolated that isn't loving, what is your inner child saying? Are you protecting that inner child? So if somebody's calling you a bitch, or somebody's like completely destroying your body image because they expect you to look like a pinup girl, are you protecting that inner child that's saying, wait, no, I'm perfect as I am? Because the adult part of us really needs to hold space and protect that inner child no matter what. And it was very daunting and very eye-opening for me to realize that I was not protecting my inner child, and that I have a doll that I have in my room, and I look at that doll and I think of all my choices and decisions, and the only people that can come into my life are the ones that are going to light me up, inspire me, lift me up instead of tear me down, because that's not allowed anymore. And although I've done this in chunks over the years since the separation, it's been about 3 years, it still kind of comes up because we're talking a lifetime of wounding that needs to be completely dismantled, and realizing how we allow this kind of behavior in our life. So whether it is a spouse, a lover, a boyfriend, a partner, a friend, a female friend, family members, anybody that is not holding you up to your light is toxic. Anyone that is trying to destroy you is not helping you. And I just invite you to take a look at that and look at your inner child. What would your inner child be saying to the abuser, or to somebody that is not being loving and kind to you? It's our duty to step in and say, that's not okay, and you need to back off, and you need to stop. And I say no, and set your boundaries or walk out. And so that's what I'm wanted to be clear. The other one was a little bit weepy and wasn't making sense, and I just um, really invite you to take a look at that, especially for those of you that are watching this that have had a history of abuse, that we don't often see what is really abusive because our body has been set at a parameter that accepts it as normal. And that's a huge, huge lesson for all of us, so that we know how to really listen to people that are saying, hey, that's not okay. Christy, that behavior is not okay. And then to go within and stand and take back our power and make sure we're protecting that inner child. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope that it brings some light into your life as we go on this beautiful journey to grow and to love and to be loved, and how to say yes to people that really are there from a kind spirit, and to just say no to the emotional abuse. And obviously, like the physical abuse, the emotional abuse is really intense. And so thank you, Danielle LaPorte, for reminding me of that inner child today, and I hope that you all find so much grace and love on your healing journey.